So let's finish this sucker here. Let's finish this sucker. Man, oh man, I am bright. Oh man. Alright. So let's finish up exercise and let's talk about how to eat right. Okay, so is it ever too late to begin exercising? No, the answer is no. So when you are old and seemingly decrepit, just remember that don't stop. Just keep exercising. Constantly keep exercising. Research surrounding elderly individuals and the workouts that they do, it slows the cognitive decline, and it slows muscle mass degeneration, atrophy, and it slows bone either brittleness or bone softening. Okay, so remaining active is incredibly important for physical health when you get older. Okay, and a lot of the research does focus on elderly women. One of the things that elderly people do benefit from is water aerobics or water calisthenics. So doing because it's low impact in the water. The water is making you mostly buoyant, and so if you've got bad knees, then it's a good place to get started. Or continue exercise as you get older. All of that suggestion is mostly not for any of you right now. So, just keep that in mind. You'll remember this 60 years from now. Don't worry about it. Okay. So why don't most people exercise? Most of you did say you exercise. I think exercising right now physically is a good idea as a way to cope with our current circumstances. But honestly, if you look at the demographics of people that are exercising, they're not. It's most people, and then they're not. And so exercise declines with age because your body breaks down, starts breaking down. I should say it's more tough to actually start doing or to keep up with exercise routines. And then socioeconomic status and ethnic groups do have a lot to do with why people don't exercise. There's a reluctance and fear of exercising too much, and whether or not exercise is working. So self-efficacy here refers to the determination and desire to reap the benefits of exercise. One of those things being improved physical health, improved libido, weight loss, these sorts of things. But it's gradual, right? And we want instant gratification. So if you don't have the self-efficacy and the determination to maintain the habit within a longer time frame, right, delaying the gratification, then you're likely going to be upset and lose the determination, the desire. The habit will drop away. Okay. Attitudes about exercise. This is fairly self-explanatory. People don't exercise because they don't think it's going to help them. This goes back to what I just said a few seconds ago with self-efficacy and the instant gratification, right? Exercise isn't going to give you instant gratification. There are some instant benefits to exercising. So what's called runner's high or your endorphins. They are released because you're damaging your body in some ways, so to speak, when you exercise. And so you create your own endogenous opioids in order to pain relieve. And so that feels good. But people don't like being winded. Okay, people just, I mean, attitudes. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to be sore in tomorrow or the next day or many days after that. So attitudes do impact why people don't. And then, of course, just a basic misunderstanding of the benefits of exercise, what it can do for you on in any given moment, on any given day, any given month, year, week, whatever. Just being active, right? The NFL has the Play 60. Michelle Obama had the Let's Move campaign. Like, we just got to keep moving. Physical activity, I think, is the most important thing when we think about it. If you understand those basic benefits of exercise, then the other benefits will follow, if that makes sense. And then if you do it enough, then it'll become a habit and you won't even worry about it. And you might end up feeling guilty that you didn't do it, one day out of the week. I know I'm feeling guilty for not exercising these past couple of weeks. And it is taking a little bit of a toll on my mental health. It's not great. And so that guilt, obviously, well, and maybe it's not guilt, maybe it's more a bit shame of not exercising. So you might have those feelings of shame and guilt as well with exercising. Okay. And then, of course, the last thing is more of a social factor in why people don't exercise: environmental barriers. Imagine growing up in a neighborhood where you really can't go outside for a number of reasons. One of those reasons being extreme violence. So imagine the poor neighborhoods in the United States where there's a lot of gun violence, for example. Going outside is pretty dangerous, even during the day. Or if you think about it, humans exist everywhere around the world, right? And we can look in Mexico, our neighbors to the south. And many of those smaller rural communities are dealing with cartel or gang warfare, and going outside is not a good idea, even during the day, like I said. So, and that's an environmental barrier, right? So you got to consider that in why just even in the United States or broadly worldwide that people don't exercise. Okay. Exercise interventions. So if you want to exercise and you want to get people to stick to exercising, you tell them, you do promotion. Oh no, that's not good, Stephanie. You do a promotion campaign. You tell them what the benefits are of exercising, doing this, and your health will be better. Okay, as opposed to, you don't do this, you're gonna die. That's a prevention campaign. Remember, promotion. We want to do promotion or gain frames to get people started and active. Okay, started. Prevention frames might be good to keep, as I said last week, might be good to keep people active in their habit. But to get people to start, we got to tell them, it's a good thing to do that. Most people get the habit of exercising from their family, and so if you can get more people in your family or friend circle to exercise, the more people will exercise. You see this in a lot of workout buddy situations. Like, I want a workout buddy. I want somebody who's going to hold me accountable and will work out with me, so I'm not in the gym by myself, or I'm not running by myself. Or, we can have shared goals for what it is we want to achieve by, doing some sort of exercising. So if you are playing a sport and you want to, just get better at it, then that's one way, right? And then, of course, a cheer squad. Okay, so even people who aren't your exercising buddies are a cheer squad. So you have your friends and family going like, yay, good job, woo! So for those of you who are doing exercise for your behavior change plans, this last assignment, the social support and coping, where you identified at least one person who is either hindering or helping your behavior change, that's what we just talked about. So that's what you were just talking about. Okay. And another way that you can do this, so if you participate in charity runs, like Run with Reagan, which I don't think is happening this semester, unfortunately, but like the St. Jude walk run, and other charity runs, that's a way to get other people excited for one cause for another cause, and you are actually helping yourself by doing that exercise. So if you participate in those run walks, it's another form of that. And then favorable attitude toward exercising and a high sense of self-efficacy. So this slide plus the previous slide sort of give you an understanding of why people don't exercise and what it takes to actually get started with a health behavior of exercising. Okay. The caveat with the self is athletic, I don't necessarily think you need that to be successful in exercising, but you should, have a belief in yourself that you're coordinated, or at least can be coordinated. You can train yourself to be coordinated. If you fall over yourself repeatedly, then there's a problem there, right? Okay. All right, switching gears 100% back to nutrition, right? So nutrition is essentially eating the right foods. So here's my plate. Okay, here's my plate. If you are familiar with the Peoria area, there's a center that's on Knoxville, somewhere around, I think it's in between Lake and Glen. It's called the Holt Center. Ollie went there a few weeks ago on a field trip. It's like a half a mile up the road from his elementary school. And they spent a couple of hours talking about this exact thing. And they showed the My Plate, because this is still an active campaign. My Plate came about during the Obama administration, and I don't think the Trump administration has changed anything as far as the content of your plate. So it's coming from the U.S. Department of Agriculture there. So here's my plate, or your plate, or our plate, and these are and then one is in English and one is in Spanish. And it really gives you all the food groups here. So we have fruits and veggies, okay, which are separated on my plate. Fruits and veggies are separated. And the reason they're separated is because though they are similar in the sense that they're both fibrous roughage that comes from the earth, right? And that we eat them either raw or cooked. You get different benefits from fruit and vegetables. So fruits, generally speaking, are going to give you those good sugars. Okay, so glucose, sucrose, fructose, not processed sugars. You get a number of vitamins from fruits. Okay, so oranges, for example, vitamin C. Make sure you don't get scurvy. Right? Don't worry about it. You probably won't get scurvy. Veggies, on the other hand, give you different things. Many of the veggies that grow in the ground are going to give you iron. Okay. Those are your greens. Your leafy vegetables are going to give you a lot of iron. You're not going to get sugars from them. They're not sugary, right? So you're going to get your iron. You're going to get your other minerals like calcium from them as well. Some vitamins included in veggies, but you can see that the veggies portion is slightly bigger than the fruit portion. Both are going to give you fiber, your dietary fiber, which is great. And then you have your grains. Okay, you have your grains. These should generally speaking, be whole grains. Whole grains, as opposed to processed grains like white bread, which is bleached flour, bleached wheat flour, and then protein. And the bleaching process basically sucks out a bunch of nutrients. That's why white bread's not very good for you. But you can get whole wheat white bread, which is amazing because it's white bread, tastes like white bread. It's not brown, but yet it's whole wheat. It's great. So whole grains. And then your proteins, which is about the size of the fruits, maybe a little bit bigger. These can be meats or other things. You can get proteins from veggies too, but these are your nuts, beans, eggs. You get from there, but then you could also, if you do eat meat, then chicken, beef, or I should say poultry, beef, pork, other sources. Your veal or venison, right? Veal is baby cow and venison is in Italy. That's my joke for you. That's a really old joke. Really, for me, it's old. It's like a 20-year-old joke. And then off to the side here is your dairy. As much as the dairy industry in the United States wants you to believe that you should be drinking milk, you really don't need to drink cow's milk. Many humans have a difficult ability of breaking down lactose, which is the sugar in dairy products. So, and then you get, lactose intolerant. Raise your hand if you're lactose intolerant. Yep, that's me. You can get your calcium any other ways too. You can get your vitamin D by just going out in the sunshine. Sunshine, just get your vitamin D from the sunshine. As you see me being irradiated by artificial light. Oh, also, as far as what you should be drinking, you should be drinking water. Is that the only thing that people drink? No. But as far as nutrition goes, water. It helps you digest everything else, right? Now, daily caloric intake has to do with a number of factors. We did talk about BMR already, but the other factor I want to talk about is the glycemic index. And you may be familiar with the glycemic index. So let's, again, reiterate the definition of what a calorie is. Okay, and so this is technically little c calorie. Amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, and that's expressed in joules because metric system, FTW. Okay, and then we talk about how many kilocalories that takes with big C calorie, right? So when you look at a nutrition label, that's big C calories. That's kilocalories. Okay. And so when we're talking about the nutrition quality of food, not only do we have to talk about calories, but we also have to talk about the glycemic index, which is related to the carbohydrate content of the food that you're eating, because carbohydrates are broken down into sugars. Sugar, like glucose, is used by your cells for energy to create ATP. If you remember your I think I've heard from some students in the past where they talk about a rhyme that they learned for the cellular pieces, something like that. All right, so the glycemic index, okay. This is specifically for how well a human body, an average human body, would convert carbohydrates into glucose. So it's a ranking system. And so the scale is from 0 to 100. The scale is essentially arbitrary because you're basically just comparing other carbohydrates to each other. Okay, and so how you score any particular carbohydrate is in relation to other carbohydrates and how much they raise your blood sugar. Okay. And then for the vast majority of people who do not have insulin issues like diabetes, insulin then would be used to maintain the sugar rise, right? So glycemic indexes, higher values on the glycemic index create larger rises in sugar or sugar content in your blood, okay? And then you can take that index and apply another value to it, which is the glycemic load. So then a particular food would have a glycemic load. Most people don't actually think about GI and GL when they're considering what food they're going to eat, what carbohydrates they're going to eat, grains versus cakes versus cookies, etc. You're not actually thinking about the glycemic quality of the food that you're going to eat, because many of us don't really need to care about that in a sense because we don't have insulin issues. The glycemic index and the glycemic load of food is crucially important to diabetics, either type 1 or type 2 diabetics. So type 1, if you recall from I think chapter 3, that is insulin dependent, and it is generally speaking child onset, and so this is essentially the pancreas is not creating insulin to maintain sugar levels in your blood, and so you need daily injections. Okay, and then there's type 2, which is generally speaking adult onset, and this is because the insulin production from the pancreas is reduced, and person has to check their blood sugar every day to make sure that it's not too high, because that could lead to a coma. So these two things are incredibly important for somebody who's managing their blood sugar on their own. Okay, and if you are higher risk for diabetes, then you need to know these things in the foods that you eat. Okay, it's not just how much sugar is, on the nutrition facts label. It's not just how much sugar is in there. Of course, that is important to know how many sugars are in there and what kind of sugar they are. So is it high fructose corn syrup or is it something else, right? What else? So coronary heart disease. So diet and disease, we talked about this a little bit. So cholesterol, so you got your LDLs and your HDLs. Oh, look, I even wrote those down. Look at me. So your low-density lipoprotein, your high-density lipoprotein. So LDL is good, LDL is bad, HDL is good. That's what I meant to say. And you find both of them in the proteins that you eat. Okay, lipoproteins. They're essentially fatty protein strings. Okay, that have a backbone of fat-soluble molecules. Okay, and so when you think about it, if you've got these fat-soluble particles floating around in your blood, has anybody ever seen adipose tissue, maybe from like liposuction or something like that, or maybe you've seen lard? And lard's not exactly the same. But if you've seen lard, or if you've seen the fat that comes out of somebody from liposuction, you see that it's kind of gelatinous and it's clumps together. That's in your blood, right? So if that's doing that outside of somebody's body, it's also doing that inside of your blood. And like we talked about when we talked about cardiovascular disease, when that stuff clumps together, not great. And so the lower density cholesterol tends to stick together more often. Okay. Lower density tends to stick together more often. And then so here is a graph of age for middle-aged and then elderly. So we have 45 to 64, about a 20-year-old time span there, and then 65 and over, and then percent of occurrence for each of these things. Can we see this graph? Should I make it a little bit bigger? So you have the darker blue, which is specified conditions to at least one of the other 9 selected chronic conditions, and then only specific. So the lighter blue is only specific to that. So we have hypertension and diabetes, hypertension and heart disease, hypertension and cancer. Okay, and you can see that less than 10% across the board for middle-aged folks. But above 65, so specifically senior citizens, elderly individuals, these numbers shoot up, okay? And the vast majority are just high blood pressure and diabetes, or high blood pressure and heart disease, high blood pressure and cancer, because of the way that the high blood pressure and heart disease. So the high blood pressure of heart disease as a cardiovascular disease does then mesh with other issues. So it's compounding. So you got to check your cholesterol. You got to check it often. So when you go get your physical, if you get blood work, when you get your yearly physical exam, they are testing how much cholesterol you have. 200 or 300. No, sorry, 300 total is the number that you are you want to be under 300. If you're over 300, then you've got high cholesterol, and you might actually have to. So the first thing that doctors will suggest is modifying your diet. Obviously, we're talking about that today. So modifying your diet to the point where you are cutting the cholesterol that you are intaking. And then if you are advanced in age, there's not a lot you can do with the cholesterol that you already have in your body. So you're going to have to do lifestyle changes, more exercise, but then also probably go on anti-cholesterol medication like Lipitor, which is expensive. Lipitor is expensive, but I think the patent has just recently run out. And so other drug makers can make generic versions of Lipitor and sell them for far less. Okay, so how do we then determine what it is we should be eating? Okay, so first thing, like I said, and this again goes back to talking about exercise, that's why I like talking about these together, is you should be first determining your BMR. Okay, you should first determine your BMR, because you need to know your base level of your metabolic activity. And that way, if you are, depending on how you are trying to determine your nutrition, is it something that you want to eat more of to get more weight, or do you want to do less of to get less weight? That sort of thing. Okay, and of course there are a number of factors that go into BMR, and that is what the online calculators can do for you. And we did talk about the set point hypothesis the other day on what was it, Monday, when we were talking about obesity, right? So you have a weight thermostat essentially that is maintained by your hypothalamus, right? So if your body falls below this prescribed weight by your genes, right? Whatever your hypothalamus wants you to do, if it falls below, then your body will do two things. One, it will increase the amount of ghrelin and leptin that is produced in order to make you hungry. Okay? In order to make you hungry. It's obviously a survival mechanism, because hunger is a drive, and hunger is uncomfortable, and we want to reduce that by eating, right? Which will then maintain our weight. The other thing it will do is it will turn down your metabolic activity, so your BMR will actually start to move lower. This is a little bit more slower of a process because your body's just like kind of tweaking it. Not going down. You're not going from 1,800 kilocalories to like 1,500 kilocalories in the span of a day. It's a gradual reduction depending on if you are not consuming enough calories. Overall, not eating enough calories is not a good way to lose weight because your body thinks that you are starving and it will protect itself. Okay, it will protect itself. And two of the things that it does immediately is these two things. You're just going to get hungrier and hungrier. It's going to be more painful. Those hunger pangs are just going to consume you. And that's just your body and your brain saying, hey, eat something. Please. We need to eat something. Okay. Here's a chart for BMR. It's by no means exhaustive. So don't look at this chart and be like, oh, okay, that's what I need to do based on my age range. Go, if you really want to know, go to a BMR calculator on the web and input your specific details. Okay, so don't look at this list, but it gives you a range. It gives you quite a bit of range. So if you are an active person, of course, you're going to need more calories a day. Okay, you're going to need quite a few more than if you are sedentary, if you lead a sedentary life. And some of those things might actually have changed recently. You could track your BMR if you want to, but some of those things might have changed recently because you are less active. You're not going to campus. You're not walking around campus. You're doing classes in your house, on your bed, on a chair. I'm sitting down. I, generally speaking, teach and walk back and forth, right? You all know that. Which is an interesting thing. And if I were tracking my BMR, I could show you, but I'm not. So, but it's something that you can do. Okay. Moving on. So, I have another activity for you. So what I'd like you to do for this one, I have 2 slides worth of questions. Take a moment here for you to do this one. So for the following, I think 14 items, I would like you to use the following scale. 1 to 5, where 1 is almost never or never, and 5 is almost always or always, and 3 represents sometimes. So 2 is any time, rarely, and 4 represents often. Okay. I think we have an Astrid sighting. While you guys do this one, Astrid can come on in. Come on in.
Wait, can I?
Come on in. Come on in.
I'm just doing laundry.
She's just doing laundry. Yeah. Laundry. You probably can
How
hear
often do you eat? Because you want to treat yourself.
Treat yourself. I should have written it like that.
Treat yourself today. Hi, Stephanie.
It's Katie.
Oh, hi, Katie. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad you know their usernames. Treat
Yeah, I'm getting better.
yourself today.
I'm getting better. That's
Hi,
Logan.
Logan. I know who you are. I remember when my dog ran you over.
And that's Deanne, obviously.
Yes.
There's Emily.
Hello. Oh boy. Who else is baking a lot right now?
Yeah.
Talk about motivation to eat, like
Number 7.
cookies.
Because you feel worthless or inadequate.
No, mostly because
Well,
I want to treat myself, not because I feel worthless, because I'm amazing.
Well, I mean, you can.
Hair flip. Yeah, so much
Hair
baking.
flip.
I still have the chocolate chip cookie. Not chocolate chip. I have chocolate cookies we can make too. Still, I didn't bake them yet. I made really good
Whenever she bakes something, I probably eat like the fewest amount of it all because the kids are just like cookie.
Yeah, and Ellie is extremely food motivated and now knows how to climb up on the counter to get stuff.
Yes.
So now I have to hide it.
She is extremely food oriented, and as I was talking about the other day, it's mostly because she's bored.
Yeah, no, today, especially, even though it's nice out, I got the kids outside to play, and they're still, like, they just had a snack. We got inside, it was 11, same, We got inside, it was 11. I'm like, hey, you guys can have a snack. The kids had a snack. Ellie ate pretzels and baby tomatoes, and Ollie had some crackers. And then 10 minutes later, we're hungry.
Here's the second page, everyone.
We're hungry. Is it lunchtime yet? I'm like, I will tell you when it's lunchtime. I need you to not ask me for food. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell them like it's soon. Like
it's almost lunchtime for this guy.
It's exhausting managing food, but not doing it in a negative way, and trying to encourage them to listen to their bodies.
To eat healthy, as we were talking about
today.
Not even
healthy, just recognizing.
But eating healthy, because that's the message that I'm trying to.
Okay, yeah, but like also like
tell them
there's not good foods and bad foods. There's just like foods that you don't eat all the time because they're not going to make your tummy full. Yeah. And trying to be like good role models.
Except pickles, that's bad food. That's
a whoa food. According to Ollie.
That's a whoa food?
Whoa. So there's a go food.
Our family does not like pickles, and so if you love pickles, you cannot be friends with us.
Oh, sorry, Logan. Pickles are trash.
Yeah, pickles are trash.
Pickled onions.
This is a hill that I will die on. Gladly die on.
Pickled onion is okay.
And I know that it's an unpopular opinion. But it is a hill that I will gladly.
Logan's gonna drop an F in chat for how much you hate pickles. I mean, I'll accidentally. Okay, I'm gonna stop distracting your class.
Yeah, please get out of here. Oh, there's a third page, guys. Just realized.
To please your mother or someone else who wants to eat. I said, "Do you want more tamales from Coco?" Where Miguel is like, "No, thank you," and Mama is his grandma is like, "You need to eat," and he's like, "Oh, yeah. You want?" Now I want a tamale. Mexican sounds rad.
Tamales.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Oh man. Good times. Bye, Astrid.
Okay, bye. Go.
Bread and butter pickle. Any pickles, if they have pickled cucumbers in them, they are the devil's
pickles?
Food. Okay? There's no two ways about it. I bit into a hamburger one time, pickle in it. I almost sent it back because I asked for no damn pickles, and I almost sent it back. I pulled out the pickle and I almost vomited. But nothing about pickles. I don't care if they're breaded. I don't care if they're deep fried. I don't care if you put sprinkles on them. No. I can go back to the previous page. So remember the scales 1 to 5, 1 being never, 3 being sometimes, 5 being always. Yep. Oh, Murphy just came downstairs. Cool, good. Yeah. And I do have a scoring guide here for these 20. Forgot it had 20. I thought there was 14. It's 20. Basically, you're gonna end up summing your yeah. I don't like cucumbers either, Logan. I'm actually kind of a garbage person when it comes to fruits and veggies. It's not good. My plate actually does not look great. If you want full Dr. Swan honesty right now, there is no good my plate. There is very little dairy on it. About a third the size of the fruit portion. 0 vegetable portion, a gigantic protein portion, and a gigantic carbohydrate portion. That's essentially my plate. So
it's better than you stayed.
I don't know. All right, this is how you score it. So there are 4 dimensions to your motivations for eating. One of those is coping. So 5, 7, 9, 10, and 11. You average those items. You might need your phone for a calculator. It's not summing. It's averaging. There's the social dimension. So eating in social situations. 4, 12, 13, 14, and 18. Average those. The compliance. Eating because you have to. is at 15, 16, 17, 19, and 20. So eating because you have to, or eating because you should. And then the pleasure dimension, eating because, oh, food is so wonderful, you know? Food is just the most wonderful thing you can eat. Put inside your mouth, you know? 1, 2, 3, 6, and 8. Treating yourself. That scrumtralescent cake that you ate. The delicious bacon on your breakfast. The yummy fried green tomatoes. And corned beef. That's the pleasure dimension. So you should have a number between 1 and 5, obviously, because you are averaging them. Okay. So where's everybody look on these? Drop them in chat for me to take a look at. The midpoint of each scale is obviously 3. So if you are a sometimes in all of these scales, then you should be around 3. Okay. If you favor the scale, that is, you're more often or always doing those things, then that's a stronger motivation to eat versus something else. Versus lower than 3, which is not something that you engage in. That's not a motivator to eat, right? So lots of people tend to be lower on compliance. A lot of people don't actually eat because they have to. Most people tend to be higher on social and pleasure, like closer to 5 on social and pleasure. Eating because I'm going out with my friends and we're gonna go have dinner, right? Or I like to eat because it's yummy, that sort of thing. Okay. If you have high on coping, that means you tend to eat because of stress. Your motivation to eat because of stress is high. And so that's when you do most of your eating, and that tends to be more comfort foods, like high fat, high sugar foods, right? That sort of thing. So we're gonna end class here. I do have eating disorders on the remaining part of the slides, but I'm actually not going to talk about them this year. We don't really have the time to talk about eating disorders. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end nutrition there, and call nutrition done, so we can move on to addiction on Friday. We're pushing back a couple of things. We may end up just doing 1 day of cannabis next week. Doing 1 day of cannabis. So yeah. If you want to review the eating disorder slides, most of the information does come from the DSM-5. The DSM-5. Stephanie, you should have a number between 1 and 5 because you need to take the average, not the sum. Are there any questions for me on nutrition, exercise, obesity? The last few days worth of material. We can chat about that. Hang out, chat about that. Otherwise, go eat some lunch. You know, that sort of thing. Go eat some lunch. And if you are in chat and you missed a little bit earlier, go ahead and just sound off in chat. Just make sure that I see you. You get the credit for today. There's been a little bit of confusion about what that is, what that means. So, yeah, I'd appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and end the recording there. and